In our society today, most people refer to the United States as a democracy as opposed to a republic. Many people seem to believe that these are interchangeable terms, and some even seem to believe that the term republic has a more negative connotation than the term democracy. Sadly, most people do in fact believe that the United States is a democracy, when in fact we are not, nor have we ever been. In order to discuss democracy versus republic, we must first understand the spectrum of governmental rule. At one extreme we have monarchy, and at the other extreme we have anarchy. In a monarchy, there is only one true leader who rules as he or she sees fit. In anarchy, there is no true leader, no governing system, and no rule of law. In the true reality of governmental history, an oligarchy is the most common form of government. In fact, it remains the most common form of government today. In an oligarchy, there is typically a small group of people who are leaders and who rule as they see fit. Even in governments typically labeled as dictatorships and monarchies, the reality is that these systems of government were actually oligarchies and were ruled by not only one supreme leader, but also a council of leaders. Within this theoretical spectrum of government, monarchy, the rule of one, on one end, and anarchy, the rule of none on the other, falls democracy and republic. Let's discuss and compare these two forms of government. In the purest form, democracy is the rule of the majority, where the individual or any group of individuals have no protection against the power of the majority. There are no limitations of government and sovereignty. Ultimate authority rests with the entire population. A true democracy is rare, and historically democracies have failed miserably because of the potential for it to turn into what might be called mob rule. This occurs when the majority makes decisions that benefit itself at the expense of the minority. For example, a racial, religious, or socioeconomic class that consists of more than half of the voting population could, theoretically, vote to give itself certain benefits or to oppress the freedoms of the minority. So 3 wolves and 1 sheep are sitting at a table. Theoretically, the 3 wolves could vote to eat the sheep, and even though the sheep voted against this measure, the majority rules, and the wolves can now legally eat the sheep. In a true democracy, there is no legal power that protects the minority, the 49% or less. In a republic, however, any form of government is constitutionally or legally limited. The government can create laws to protect liberties and freedoms of the individual, but are bound by constitutional authority. In essence, there is the rule of law or constitution, which guarantees inalienable or unalienable rights to individuals or minority groups. In a republic, sovereignty, ultimate authority, lies with the rights of the individual. This prevents those rights from being infringed upon by the whim or will of the majority. So in the prior example, 3 wolves or 100 wolves could never vote to eat the sheep because the sheep has an inalienable right to life, liberty, and freedom. This protection is fundamental in the republican form of government. In the United States, we live in a constitutional republic where citizens are not governed by the majority of the people but by the rule of law. It may shock some to learn that the term democracy does not appear in the Declaration of Independence, nor does it appear in the Constitution. Our founding fathers specifically created a constitutional republic in an attempt to hold in check the threat of mob rule, with the intent to protect the individual from the tyranny of the majority. And they did so by placing checks on the power of the majority of the population, as well as governmental power. The power of the majority of the people is checked by limiting that power to electing representatives who govern within the limits of constitutional law. The power of government is checked by not allowing any single individual to hold judicial, executive, or legislative powers. These powers are separated into distinct branches that serve as a system of checks and balances against each other. Somewhere I heard the quote, and this is somewhat of a paraphrase, but it says something like, "The essence of freedom is the appropriate limitation of government. When government grows, individual freedom suffers." So the next time you hear our country described as a democracy, I hope you remember the information provided in this video. To close, I will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Long live the Republic.